uh, Thursday edition already of the Art Lewis Show. Wow. Anyway, later on after the 10 o'clock news, we're going to learn more about the Bavarian Inn Lodge and their water park and a big competition they're involved in. Kelly Martin will be here from Bavarian Inn Lodge. At 11 o'clock, Ken Buck from Buck Insurance will be here to talk about the Walleye Festival. But for this hour, open phones, and with me in studio, Jonathan Dent. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to see you as always. It's an open phone hour, whatever you want to chat about, 989-752-6111. Put you in touch with us. I want to talk about one thing real quick here because there was an interesting poll. As we've said now for quite some time, poll after poll shows that America seems to be moving away from organized religion and in some cases God. Well, there's a new Gallup poll out, and this one shocked me, actually. This Gallup poll indicates that more young men are attending religious services regularly, and that the number has increased up to like 40% for men ages 18 to 29.
Mm-hmm.
That's finally some good news on the religious front.
Yeah, and that's something that I think we've seen just kind of the beginnings of over the past couple of years. But a lot of young people in general, this generation's been born into a world where nothing is true, nothing is solid, and the ground is always shifting.
Right.
So
that translates into religion too.
To go back to a religion where, hey, here's truth.
Yeah,
you can find truth.
But you're not a good example because you grew up in a religious house. Your father's a pastor.
No, but I'm able to see trends.
But you're able to see trends.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's a good trend. I mean, I read that and I said I gotta mention that because it's something positive. There's enough negatives, and it just seems to me the farther away we get from God and religion, it leads to the troubles we have. So.
And here's something I'm going to just throw out there as well. For the older generations, welcome these people.
Oh, absolutely.
Because so many times, especially in old established churches, and I can speak from experience on this,
it's cliquish.
The younger people come in and it's, wait, but this is our church. No, it's not.
No.
Welcome them. That's the next generation of your church.
My answer to that is it's God's church.
Yep.
Or God's temple, or whatever it is, God's shul, or you name it. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up this morning. All right, let's head to the old phones here. Carl's ready to start us out in Saginaw. Carl, good morning.
Yes, I'm ready. Good morning, Art and Jonathan.
Morning.
Art, yesterday you were talking about this feud between Pope Leo and President Trump.
Yep.
And you said that, because the Pope is a public figure, that it's legitimate to criticize the Pope, what some of the things he says.
Just a minute. Just so we clarify, I specifically meant that he waded into the Iran argument, so he becomes you
put your opinion out there.
Susceptible to criticism.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I agree. However, is it wise? I'm asking about the judgment. Is it wise to get into a feud with the Pope? Just because the Pope says something doesn't mean you have to respond to it if you're the president.
No, it doesn't mean you shouldn't either, though. Here's the thing about it.
Yeah,
if you look at it, there are two answers to that. If you look at it from a public pronouncement view, the Pope offered up his opinion, the president countered. If you look at it from a political view, the Republicans need Catholics. Big voting bloc. Not a smart thing from that standpoint. However.
Exactly.
However, what do you make decisions on? I mean, if you base it just on that, you have to remember this about the president. As much as he'd like to see, obviously the House and the Senate stay the same for the remainder of his term, he's done at the end of his term.
Mm-hmm.
So he can say what he wants. He can do what he wants. The party may not like it.
And the Pope will The Pope will still be here.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it's
Probably.
just probably, but doesn't matter. I mean, in my world, if you put yourself out there as the Pope did, and makes the pronouncements he makes, even though they're based on his religious views and what he's taught as a good Christian Catholic, you still put yourself out there, so you can expect that not everybody's going to agree with you.
And Trump has such a big ego that any disagreement from a major figure needs some response.
Exactly. He
from
will
him.
not let it ride.
No.
I don't care what it is, who it is. He's not going to let it ride.
But it's a dumb decision to.
Do you want a commander in chief who can't let it ride, who holds grudges?
What do you think we
Is that
should
what
do
you
about
want?
that then? He was elected by a majority. He is the president of the United States.
I don't care if he's got a big mouth.
Whether you like it or not, he's the president. Period. That's the end of the
Yes, he
story.
is. Yeah,
Well, that's the end of the
he's
story.
our president.
So,
Okay.
2.5 years
Jonathan,
from now, when you vote
Jonathan?
for another one, you have something to base it on.
Jonathan, I'd like to ask you, what did you think about Trump's comments about wiping out a civilization?
Grandstanding and a threat that he wasn't going to make good on. Again, stupid thing to say. It's
Trump.
It's fear-mongering and dumb. I don't like a lot of the things that he says on a lot of topics. But what did he actually do?
Yeah,
in line with what did he actually do? He actually is sending.
Threatened genocide. He threatened genocide. That's what he did.
What did he actually do? He sent U.S. Navy vessels over there, or he is
That the blockade,
to blockade. I don't like that either.
but it's working.
I guess
Yeah, that's
Well,
going
we'll
to
see.
hit.
I don't
that's
like
gonna hit
that
their
escalation
economy.
part of it, but yeah.
Well,
I
it's
wouldn't count those chickens just yet.
yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. All right. Good enough.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Carl. Bye now. 989-752-6111 to join Jonathan and me and chat about whatever's on your mind this morning. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll have more calls. Mark, you'll be next, so hang on. Right now, let's see if we can give away some money.
Emergency.
All right, we're back with you. Martin Lewis and Jonathan Dent in studio with me. And back to our phones this morning. And we have Mark, who's in Auburn this morning. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Art. How are you, sir?
Good.
Hey, my only rebuttal on your last caller was if the Pope steps into the political ring, certainly Iran has committed genocide. When your caller said about genocide, speaking out on it, nothing was mentioned from the Pope on the 30-some thousand that Iran had killed protesters. And recently, just a few days ago, I don't know if they have been hung or not, but 4 protesters in their teens are slated to be hung there in Iran.
They were executed. One of them was an athlete, wrestling star or something like that. Yeah, they were executed.
So if the Pope's going to speak out, you should also include that as well.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say on that. And now, you guys have a poll in regards to the Red Wings. I have a
We were just talking
tattoo
about
on my. I have a tattoo on my arm that I have to keep covered because they are not in the playoffs again. So your poll reads: Should a legend be fired or not? You know, I used to watch, and I still do watch the Tigers when Alan Trammell, who was a legend for the Tigers, was the manager.
the worst year in history.
Yeah, he got let go. So as far as legends, you can't fire them. I mean, that's my example, and I think we should probably move on from Yzerman and get a winning record going. What are your thoughts?
Well, as much as I agree you can fire him, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I'm of the ilk that I'd give him one more year.
That's kind of where I'm at too.
Yeah, I kind of think one more year, and if he can't bring it around and they can't make the playoffs next year, he's history. But I just think
That's 8
that
years.
Yeah, I understand that, but I do think that and you have to remember this too. They were in the playoffs 25 years in a row and won the Stanley Cup 4 times in that 25 years. And they had the Russian line. They had all those greats. I mean, at one time, there were probably half the bench was Hall of Famers. And I think that, after 25 years of success, because every time you have that success, you move down and down and down the draft list, you don't get to pick the good players anymore. And that's what's happened to them over the years. Now they should be near the top of the draft and should be able to pick better players and fortify that lineup in the positions they need. I'd give them one more time.
And the rebuild approach has been to draft and to develop. It has not been to trade. So we've got, like, the Griffins in Grand Rapids are great.
Yeah,
They're
other than Kane.
There's been a couple trades, but the overall approach has been we're going to rebuild the team ground up, and that takes time. But at the same time, it stings.
Now here's the other one you got to look at. This one has nothing to do with on ice. Paul Woods has just retired as the color analyst for Red Wing Radio.
Yeah.
Ken Cal, of course, the tremendous play-by-play. So who should I be running into and chatting with the other day but Chris Osgood?
Oh, really?
And I said, Ozzy, come on now. He's doing a very credible job on color, both TV and radio. And he said, Art, I got to tell you something. I like radio better than I like TV. And I said, well, Paul Wood's retiring, and he got the sheepish grin on his face. I said, Ozzy, are you trying for this one? I think he'd be great.
Yeah.
Be great sitting side by side with Ken Cal, but to be seen, we don't know who they're going to replace.
Yep.
But I hope Oz is in the running. He's just a neat guy. He really is a neat guy. So anyway.
All right. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. It's just like the Patriots, they were a dynasty, and then they rebuild within 1 or 2 years, and they're right back into the playoffs. I just don't understand. It's just taking too long for me. I guess I'm still tapping out.
I understand that. There are a lot
You're
of people.
not alone.
You're not alone. There's a lot of people in your camp. So, and actually, the other thing about it is the Red Wings started out a house of fire this year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then halfway through, all of a sudden, the wheels fell off. They had a lot of injuries. I mean, those are excuses, but still, you got to look at it because it's part of the game. But, it was disappointing because it looked like they were really on the road, which is probably another reason why I say we got to give Yzerman one more year. See what happens.
Fair enough.
Good enough. Thanks, Mark.
All
Have
right.
a good one, buddy.
Take care.
Yep. Bye-bye.
You
now.
too. Bye.
And in Bay City, we find Dave this morning. Dave, good morning to you.
Good morning, Art, Jonathan, listening audience, everybody. As always, Art, great thought-provoking dialogue here, right?
Between who?
And
yeah, no, we try. We try.
well, and hey, thank you for bringing up right at the onset the religious revival that is happening in America. I came of age right at the time of the Jesus movement and made a commitment to the Lord at that point. And, what a wonderful thing that was. And look at the founding of our country after the Great Awakening. In fact, probably a lot of people aren't aware, there's a movie out right now, Franklin and Whitfield. Have you heard about that?
No, I haven't.
There's been very little promotion. It's not going to be a big box office hit, but, George Whitfield, the preacher who really was instrumental in the Great Awakening before the American Revolution. And again, here we go. Combine the spiritual dynamic with the military action that resulted in America becoming a country. The No Kings thing that's going on right now. There was a great rally cry in the revolution. We have no king but Jesus. And, scripture verse, stand fast in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free. There were, and yes, the warriors, just like Pete Hegseth this morning, heard his news conference, and he's talking about a lot of scripture, and, talked about the dust up with the Pope. And, one really interesting thing about the interaction between our president and the Pope, and this all started last week. Well, I haven't heard a lot of public comment, other than one news source, which you might guess, about the fact that David Axelrod, you remember that name, Art?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Why was David Axelrod having a private audience with the Pope last week? David Axelrod is not Catholic. He's Jewish. And he was the, I don't know what to call him, hitman, whatever. Great dynamic in the Clinton machine. So why does he meet with the Pope? And then right after this meeting of David Axelrod and the Pope, all this stuff starts happening. I'm sure it's coincidental, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't read a lot into that, because a lot of people
I would.
I wouldn't. A lot of people have meetings with the Pope. I mean, it's a constant parade. Some of them are notorious. Some of them have political history. Some of them have religious history. I don't want to read too much into that. I understand the perception because of the timing, but I wouldn't read too much into that. And first of all,
well, maybe it was just confession. I don't know.
Particularly with this Pope, this is a guy who speaks his mind. And the other thing about him is we understand him because he's American. But the reality is he speaks his mind. And I don't think he's as influenced by others as some of the other popes have been.
This is what I like about our president. And you think about this. The enemy with which we are dealing, might not like the naval blockade, but, the Iranians are trying to exercise the same playbook as the forces in Tripoli in our very first foreign military engagement, where we sent the Marines to Tripoli to deal with the Barbary pirates. The Iranians are the same thing. They are the same as the Barbary pirates.
Yeah, with much different technology.
Yeah, but it's the same tactics.
Same tactics.
Same playbook.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Right.
Fantastic. You're right.
Again,
we grant you.
Always stimulating thought.
Thanks for calling. Appreciate it, Dave.
Okay.
Talk to you again. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Yep.
Got to take a break, and we'll be back with more. Let me talk about something that's about as popular as all this other talk. Potholes. Because this is Michigan. With our weather and with the way we build roads, we get a lot of potholes. Potholes can damage your car in lots of ways. Most assuredly, knocking the alignment out, which can cause tire wear. It can cause a lot of bad things. As a matter of fact, our friends at Quick Lane Freeland will offer you a complimentary alignment check to make sure your car hasn't been overly damaged. And I've asked John from Quick Lane to talk about it, to tell you about alignment.
If your vehicle's wheels are aligned correctly, it will not pull to the left or to the right when driving. It also prevents improper tread wear, so your tires last longer. A wheel alignment should be checked often because normal steering wear and tear can cause your alignment to go out, in addition to potholes and railroad crossings. A correct alignment also reduces rolling resistance on your tires for better fuel mileage.
Thanks, John. Remember, Quick Lane Freeland is offering you a complimentary alignment check. And by the way, if you need tires, remember that they sell their tires at just $5 over cost, and they carry all the major brands, all the tires that are right for your car, and there are different different price ranges, different treads, different lifespan. They can tell you all about it. Quick Lane Freeland. It's part of the McDonald Ford property. McDonald Ford, of course, was all the new Ford product and a great pre-owned lot. Stop in today. McDonald Ford, Quick Lane Freeland. 2 names standing ready to help you with all your automotive needs for 2026.
Rocket Grab Plus.
All right, we're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show, along with Jonathan Dent, Open Phones, and Gene is in Bay City. Gene, good morning.
Good morning to you both. Donald Trump's brother's daughter had wrote a book. In the book, she talked about her grandfather, Fred Trump, and his advice to his sons was, if you want to be a billionaire, if you want to be successful, you can't have feelings. Feelings make a man weak. You have to be a killer. And Donald Trump is following his father's advice of not having feelings. And the advice that his dad gave him is the exact opposite of what Jesus taught.
All right, now here's the thing. That advice comes 2 different ways. In the world of business, and if you want to be a billionaire, yeah, you got to be ruthless. And you can't have feelings that would interrupt you from making good business decisions. That does not mean you can't have feelings outside of the business world. I've known many executives who I would say were ruthless in the business world, but were wonderful people outside the business world.
And in the realm of politics, for certain things, I don't want a politician representing me who has that feelings in that way. I want someone who's going to look out for my best interests.
Right, and do what's necessary.
necessary.
And you may disagree with the way he does it. Understand that, but you
two guys, you are against what Jesus taught.
That's wrong.
You're wrong. Don't put words in my... Well, first of all, I'm Jewish, so I stopped there anyway.
The law of God is an unfeeling thing. It condemns. That's what it does. Jesus and what he came to do is love. That's the 2 sides. There's the law and there is the gospel. Jesus taught love. I'll agree with that. Love for neighbor. Jesus also came to fulfill the law, an unfeeling, cold, damning thing. Now, the sword of the law, in certain aspects, has been given to the governments of man by God.
Yeah, for use or misuse.
Well, he said to overcome evil with good. And he also said to do good to those that hate you. That is the opposite. Even in the Old Testament.
Well, if we'd lived purely by that, Gene, we'd all be Japanese or we'd all be German. Because what would we do? Love them and not fight back?
Even in the Old Testament, taking up the sword in the name of good was done.
Which brings me to my point, which I've said over and over again. Over the millenniums and the thousands of years, we've killed more people in the name of God than almost anything else you can think of. Despite all those pronouncements from Jesus and everybody else, it's the way of man.
Well, as I say, Trump
I know it's
says he's a Christian, but he doesn't follow Jesus' advice.
Now, I might agree with you there, Gene, but you cannot throw that at people who agree with the things that he does. You can't extrapolate that to other people. You can look at what Trump does and Trump's actions, and you can judge him based on that.
As you see it.
As you see it. But
Do you think it's good to have a president that's full of hate and vengeance?
I don't think he's full of
I don't think so
hate.
either.
I do think he's a vengeful person.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and he said so. I mean, before he even got elected, he said it was okay for him to go after his enemies. I mean,
Do you think
he was
that's
out
a good
front.
thing?
It wasn't hidden.
Is that a good way
I don't know.
for a president to be?
Apparently, over half the voters did.
Over half the voters thought it was better than the alternative.
That was it. There you go. All right.
Well, I want to say one more
Real
thing.
quick.
They talk about the Pope, but nobody so far has mentioned that there's a lot of Protestant ministers that agree exactly with what the Pope is
That's
saying.
their right. Of course they do. That's fine. No problem. They have a right to do that, just as you have a right to express yourself. All right. Got to run, Gene. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Be back in a moment.
Gotta go.
Joe, I'm Art Lewis along with Jonathan Denton. Let's get back to our phones. Cam is in Freeland. Cam, good morning to you.
Good morning, everyone. The TDS is raging today, and one thing that I think a lot of these folks that hate Donald Trump don't realize is he is the greatest political goalie that the world has ever seen. When there's something he does not want you to be talking about, he will kick that puck away and give you something else of far lesser importance. And this issue with the Pope is a classic example of that. There are far more important issues we ought to be talking about than whatever he said to the Pope. And in reality, he actually honored the Pope by treating him the way he did, because is not the Vatican considered a country unto itself? And the Pope, in effect, the president or leader of that.
I've said that.
And when Canada, England, France, and the other countries criticized the war, our president, Donald Trump, came out guns a-blazing and did the same thing with the Pope. He treated him just like he would any other world leader.
And notice when all of this is coming. I think you're right. He's very good at redirecting the attention of people. This is all coming out. For a while, no one was talking about Iran, and no one was talking about the dismissal of a lawsuit that he had relating to the Epstein files, a defamation lawsuit that he had out there.
Yeah.
He has, in effect, kicked all those pucks away, and now he's got you talking about what he wants you to talk about. And those of you with Trump derangement syndrome need to be thinking about that. I mean, I hate to give you that clue. Keep it up, because you are obviously playing right into his plan when you talk about things like the Pope that are of far less importance than what the thing that John.
Yeah, but here's the hitch in his plan: the economy. Because when the voters go to the poll, they're not going to think about all those pucks he kicked away or what he was trying to deflect from. They're going to look at the price of gas. They're going to look at the price of whatever they're looking at, and that's how they vote. So that's a problem for him.
You're right. You're absolutely right about that. But again, that's another another subject that we're not talking about, right?
Yeah, but that's one you don't have to talk about. You see it every day. You don't have to talk about it. That's the problem.
And a week from now, there'll be some other topic come along that's far less important, and somehow Donald Trump will get you talking about that, and we won't be talking about Iran or the economy or whatever. Well, you guys are playing right into his plan when you do that.
The only thing, we talk about all those things. We don't care what his pucks are. We talk about what people want to hear about. But Iran is not going to go. Iran is not going to go away until it ends.
I wasn't talking about you and Jonathan. I was talking about the TDS people. So when they get all lit up about these things that don't really matter, don't matter as much.
All right, Cam, appreciate it. Have a good
one. Have a blessed day, everyone.
You too.
Bye.
Bye now. And let's say hi to Russ in Saginaw. Russ, good morning.
Hello. How are you two doing today?
We're doing well.
Good. First, a quick compliment to you. I really appreciate the fact that you regularly allow voices that you may or may not agree with to have their say. So good for you.
Oh, thank you.
Good for conversation.
That's what makes a horse race.
Results.
I mean, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, but I'm calling about something really important, the Red Wings.
Oh.
Yes.
You're getting too political here, Russ.
Not me. I'm trying to avoid it.
All right, you're heading into icon territory.
Agree with you. Yeah, I wanted to say I agree with you that Eisman should get one more year out of it at least, because, he did great in Tampa Bay. That didn't happen by accident. Of course, he had Stamkos and other things.
Yeah, but it took a while.
And the Red Wings are on the cusp, but we are missing a few key elements.
I would agree.
Okay?
I agree.
I'm hoping we can keep Kane around, because I don't know if the average guy appreciates how important he is. And we need to get another major defenseman and another sharpshooter.
Yeah.
And then we need the kids to step up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the beginning of the year, they looked great. They had the nucleus,
Yeah.
and injuries and what have you came along, and all of a sudden, the second half of the season was a wipe. Well, the same thing happened to the Tigers last year. I mean, the second half of the season was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right. Well, I just like to spread fun things, and I don't want to be a part of anybody's misery. So have a great day.
All right. Thanks a lot, Russ. Have a good one. Bye-bye now.
Yep.
And,
Bye.
and our last caller this morning is going to be Joe in Bay City. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. A quick hitter. I know I only have about 10 seconds, but
A little more than that.
okay. Well, this is a little bit for Jean and her viewpoint, and I'll send out a quick comparison. We had a president called Jimmy Carter, who was probably one of the nicest human beings and Christians on the face of the earth.
Agreed.
But he wasn't made to be a president. Then we've got a president today, Donald J. Trump, that everything that probably Jimmy Carter was, Trump might not be. But he was made to be a leader. He was made to get things done.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
And so which is your choice? A wonderful human being, a Christian that isn't fit for office and get anything done, or somebody like Donald Trump? For me, it's a pretty simple answer for me.
Yeah. And I'll tell you how I feel about it. I don't care who the president is, Democrat or Republican or moderate or whatever. I do not want to see any president fail, because if they fail, we fail.
Mm-hmm.
I want
I
every
agree.
president to be successful no matter what their stripes. It doesn't always happen, which is why voters turn parties in and out all the time. But I do not want to see failure at the executive level, because that's bad for all of us. So
Well,
listen,
and I will say this in my remaining few seconds. It's my opinion, and as opinion show, I really think that Donald Trump is a lot nicer behind the scenes
He is.
with people
He
than
is.
he is in front of people.
he is. I can tell you that because I've talked to him 3 times, and
Well,
he
there you
is
go.
that. He is that way. And everybody that I've talked to that knows him out of the political world say that when you talk to him, he's very courteous. He listens. But when you
And,
put
you
a
know-
camera in front of him and a microphone in front of him, look out. All right, we got to go, Joe.
Well,
We're
George-
out of time, buddy. We'll do it
All
again.
righty.
Thanks.
Well, I have
Bye-bye.
about 30 seconds. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you
Bye.
bet. All right, Jonathan, thank you.
Thank you.
As always, we'll do it again. Last break, we'll tell you what's ahead.
When it's time to transform your home,
Let's talk about the Bavarian Inn Water Park and a big contest going on. Follows the news from CBS, the local report with Michael Percher, and we'll be back right after that.
Broadcasting from the